Hi, I'm Anthony Horne from MZ, and I'm pleased to be hosting today's webinar. I'm very happy to be joined on today's session by Amy Woolley, Careers Consultant and expert in all things careers guidance. Today's session is all about sharing tips on using MZ Career Coach to support students and ensure that they're on the right course and the right track. So you'll hear about things like using Career Coach to help students understand how the course they are on links to their future prospects in the labour market, how Career Coach can actually help if a student isn't on the right course for them, to help identify possible alternatives based on the kinds of thing they're interested in, jobs that those interests may link with, and the courses that you offer that are going to help a student on the track towards that future career prospect. So all of that's very important and relevant right now, and it's all very important in keeping students engaged and motivated. We'll hear from Amy some practical examples of how Career Coach can be used in tutorials and as part of the 6-week review. And so to hear more detail about that, I'm now delighted to hand over to Amy Woolley, who will take us through the detail. Amy, over to you.
Hi, I'm Amy Woolley. I've been working within the career setting for 11 years now. I've worked in schools, FE, and currently working in HE and working with MZ on a consultancy basis. And really, it was kind of focusing on when I was working in FE and the role I did there with helping to support students and tutors within the first kind of 6 weeks review period, and how we used Career Coach in order to help us with that. So what is the 6-week review? So it takes place early on. It differs between each institution and what it involves. This can kind of help you to understand, meet the students. Also, if the returning students, helps you to kind of review what career ideas they have, and helps them to understand the course and what's expected of them in relation to that. And it kind of helps you to meet the students, understand their motivations, reason for choosing the course, identifies any issues that they may have. And also you kind of get an idea of what the students are wanting to achieve from the course. So why is it important to kind of have this meeting early on when they've either started or come back? Some students may feel as though they're on the wrong course. It is important to have that discussion with them, by helping them see, the course in which you deliver as a tutor, or the course that they're on, helping them look at the course content, what they can go into as a career, where it leads them to, and also asking them, what it is that they want to get out of a course, or what career ideas that they're interested in. Because having those types of conversations with students might help them to actually kind of say, okay, right, I can see that this is the right course for me. Obviously, it might be that it is definitely the wrong course for them, but it's good for you as that person to have the conversations about what it is that they're wanting to get out of a course, then what kind of career ideas they are interested in before referring them, because again, that can kind of start them getting to think about where they're wanting to go in the future, and obviously you can relay that to who you are referring them to. It's important, to ensure that students know what your course involves and what is expected of them. It's important because it helps students to see what's of interest to them, also what possible links there are, what skills they're going to develop for the future. And that's really important for students to and for you to understand, where students' interests lie, and also what skills they will be developing and how that links in with the career choice, because they're making that link early on. And this can really help, obviously, in terms of when you're delivering, to really help students see, exactly what's happening within their course and how it fits in with the future, because that can help them when they're coming to do any applications for placements or jobs, or really kind of, reviewing what they're doing. It's also important to highlight, what other careers are available to them. So they might have a certain career goal in mind, but it's important for them to explore alternatives, because it might be that that alternative is of more interest to them. But helping them to look into those careers about what they like and what they don't like, and helping them to see that they're not necessarily going to find something that they like everything about, but it's to kind of help to open up their options. But obviously some students can have lots of options, but it can also help narrow down those options, in really helping them to understand and look at what the career is about, how the course relates to it, and any other options in that they might be interested in doing. And this is a really important skill that students can use throughout their course, or any ideas that they've got in careers, is really understanding what it is that they want out of the career, what they like about it and what they don't like about it, because that can help them assess it against other careers that they may come across. It's also about students being realistic about their aspirations and understanding kind of the routes in which they need to get to in order to get to those careers. But it's also about raising aspirations with students as well, and helping them to see what they can go into and what they can aspire to is really important as well. And this can help do that also. And it's also about them being aware of what steps they need to take in order to get to their next careers. And obviously it's going to be about doing this year in their course and what it involves and how it links to them, links to that, is important. Obviously not every student is kind of at that point of where they know what careers they want to go into. Obviously for final years that's going to be more important than maybe students who are just early on in their kind of their course program. But it is still important for them to start thinking about that and start exploring it. And obviously if they do need additional help or they're on the wrong course, then know within your organisation who to refer to is really important. And it is about the right course over student numbers. It's not about losing students to other courses. It is about making sure that you retain them and keep them engaged in learning, which we all have, and all have an obligation to make sure that students are engaged with the process, and that that they are in learning, especially obviously at this point. So how this can be delivered then. So how we delivered it within our organisation is that we kind of ran it as a class reflection and then had one-to-one. It can be done in a number of different ways, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail later. But obviously it is about introducing, career planning, if you want to call it that, to students, about them understanding the course that they're going to be on. You're going to be doing that as part of their induction program anyway, which is important. But it's also important to introduce them to where it can lead to as well. And, it's important for students to reflect on the reasons as to why they're on the course, what their motivations are, what the areas of interest are. It's also good to do that maybe as a task group, getting students to do that and get to know each other. And like I've mentioned, it is important to do it with new and returning students. Returning students, things can change, interests can change, their career ideas can change. And obviously as a tutor, it's important to kind of know that and understand that, and to kind of really make sure that you are supporting them within that. Career coaches are really kind of useful tool to use in tutorials, or one-to-ones, obviously, who work with students who may be unsure. And students can complete this, but it's really important that they do have that time one-to-one in order to reflect and really kind of understand what it is that what they're looking at, and what it's showing them. And that's why that one-to-one session is important, and students will be having this either virtually or face-to-face, because again it does help you to kind of unpick some of that decision making with that student in terms of why are they interested in that career, what kind of motivated them to come into course, what are they interested in. And if possible, it is good to record this meeting on your college systems, whatever it may be, because it can help you to review it in other tutorial meetings, or if they work with another mentor or progression coach or careers advisor. And also it's good for the kind of the students to have a log of what they've kind of been looking at and what kind of things you've been discussing, and to go back on to go back and look over. And it's not just about passing the course, it's about where it's going to lead to, because as we know, students are motivated and can see where it's leading to, they are more likely to achieve on their course, and that's obviously what we want. So why would you use Career Coach as part of your 6-week review? So it is kind of like a one-stop shop really, in terms of where you can really start to support students and give them those kind of first ideas. Students can research different careers, the course that they've done, and they have the opportunity to do a self-assessment. Now obviously depending on the time that you've got will depend on kind of which self-assessment that you want to go down, and they can go back and and obviously do more in-depth one later on down the line if they're really wanting to kind of dig down into what exactly it is that they're wanting to do. But another thing is it can really help students to understand the local labour market information, and you as a tutor as well, to know kind of what the job market is out there, and what students can be preparing for, and if there is a dip in a certain certain profession, why that may be. Is it because that there's going to be people retiring, so actually with the potential there's going to be more jobs coming up in that area because there's an aging workforce, or is it because that recruiters are looking into recruiting another job role? So that's really kind of good, because then students again can see not only the career they're wanting to go into, but if they're wanting to stay locally, what they can go into after that, and the types of things that are available. Also, by looking at this and looking at kind of the skills that students will develop on the course and what they need to do for the career, it's a good opportunity to kind of talk to them about what other things they can do in order to gain experience and help them to gain that career at the end. And there is a CV builder on here, so that can help students obviously gain placements if they need to gain some more experience, or if they're final years and looking at going into work, it can help them with that as well. So it's kind of a good starting point at this point in time for students within your tutorial as well. So how to use Career Coach if the student is on the wrong course. So like I mentioned before, it's good to have these conversations with students before you do refer them. Or if you're a careers advisor or a progress coach, and you're talking to students, this is a good tool in which you can kind of use to kind of get those ideas going about what might be a best possible route to kind of refer them into. So the student can take the career assessment, which helps them to come up with some suggestions of careers, and then links to courses within the institution that they might be interested in going into. Like I mentioned before, and as we've mentioned, is that there's different kind of stages and different lengths of careers assessment. So again, depending on the time or depending on the student, will depend on which one you want to use. But it's kind of a really good kind of tool. Obviously, the student can do it by themselves, or you can sit alongside them and really kind of talk to them about the questions that it's asking, if you feel those students need that little bit of additional support. So it's about asking, what they're wanting to gain from a course or career, what are they interested in, have they got any career ideas in mind? So obviously then you can kind of use the browse the careers tool or the course tool. But it helps them to kind of see what what another course, it helps them to see what options are available to them, and helps you to kind of understand like what they may be interested in. If they see another course that they're interested in, obviously you can follow the institution's internal referral system to discuss that course with another tutor in depth. And then obviously if they are unsure, you can refer them to the career service, and obviously if you're a careers advisor, then obviously you can give them a more in-depth careers guidance meeting to discuss these things. But it is a kind of a good starting tool to use. So an example of how you would use this in a tutorial session and a follow-up one-to-one. So as I mentioned before, we have done this as a group tutorial and then as a one-to-one. Some of these tasks students can be sent away to do, and then to come back to you with the findings. It can be moved online if that is obviously how you're doing things at the moment. So a kind of like a good icebreaker, a kind of a good introduction, what you may do normally anyway, is obviously to get students to kind of discuss why they've chosen the course, maybe what they wanted to get out of the course, and what key areas of a real interest to them, or what drew them to want to do the course. And that can really help them to kind of discuss with other students their motivations, because that can actually help them to kind of identify if that was a factor in them choosing the course as well, which they may not necessarily have thought of before. And also, as you as a tutor, it helps you to kind of see the reasons that the students have chosen, and to identify them and acknowledge them. And also kind of give them some ideas of what might be related in the course that they may enjoy also. It's obviously good to then introduce career coach and ask them to take the assessment, like I mentioned before, depending on how much time you've got will depend on the assessment. But obviously if you are doing this in a group tutorial, I'd possibly suggest doing the 6-question assessment, so then you've got enough time where you can actually talk about the findings for that. And obviously for this, you will need like a computer room, or if you allow students to bring in their own laptops or whatever, so they can obviously access career coach in order to complete the assessment. And then it's obviously asking them to complete the assessment and have a look at the kind of the suggested careers that have come out of that, and look at the local labour market information, to help them to kind of see what they're doing with you on a course, how that relates to their careers, and then how that relates to the jobs that they can potentially go into as well is really important. And then that's kind of what they can do as a group. But like I mentioned before, the findings and the kind of the careers that they're looking at, it is really important for them still to get that one-to-one time to really have those discussions around the reasonings as to why they've chosen the course and the careers. Now, obviously, from the careers assessment, they may come out with careers that they're not necessarily interested in. That's fine. Obviously, we're not saying that you have to do this career, or you have to know exactly what you want to do in the future. Like I mentioned, obviously this is probably going to be more important for final years that they do know, but it's about getting them to think early on. So obviously you can pick this up throughout the course, and obviously when you're looking at progression as well. But I mean, when you are meeting one-to-one, whether you're a tutor or a mentor or anything like that, it's really good to know, again, to ask them the reasons as to why they've chosen the course, what they're wanting to get from the course. From talking about the course, what are they going to find really interesting, but also what do they not necessarily like the sound of, and why that might be. Because it's really important for students to understand that there's going to be things that they enjoy, but things that they don't enjoy. And those are important to understand as well, especially also when looking at careers. You're not going to find something that you know that you totally enjoy, but it's making sure that you know that you have that balance and you understand that. Asking them, you know, what career ideas they have or what jobs that they may be interested in. You know, some students may have done some work experience or done some research into different types of careers and may have a part-time job that's related. You know, and it's really important to kind of understand not necessarily just what they're studying relates to what they're wanting to do, but any extracurricular things that they're doing that links in, because again, that helps you to get to know the student, and you know, you're acknowledging what they do outside of college has an impact on them gaining, you know, the careers in which they're wanting to go into. And then obviously exploring what they've found from completing, you know, the assessment on Career Coach, what they found from that. Was it what they expected? You know, what skills will they develop? What are they interested about? Those kinds of things. And, you know, talk about what skills they have already, how they might have developed it, what they might have studied previously, and how that all links together. And putting in with that, you know, the local labour market information and how, you know, and how that relates to job. I think one of the most difficult things is for students to kind of make that link between what they're studying, how it relates to a career, how that relates to a job, and how it is that they can get there, and in terms of not necessarily the content, but skills that they develop in, obviously, on the course and any through any extra activities that they do. So this is a really kind of good place to start exploring that. And you know, this will help students to gain an insight into career aims and goals. It also helps you as a tutor or a mentor to see if there is any gaps, and it might be that you can suggest other things that can help them in order to fill the gap, or you can talk about what they'll do on the course which will enhance their knowledge or experience or skills in order to help them to get on their career path. And you know, it is about making sure that students are on the right course for them, are on the right track for, you know, for their career planning and their career choices. And you know, with this, it does help students to kind of help to make those links, and it can help you with reviewing this at tutorials and progression time, and just do those checks with students can really help motivate them throughout their course. So whilst working with MZ, I have also created some other resources using Career Coach, and also kind of what you can use within tutorials when you've next got a focus on kind of careers and progression, and how it can help be a one-stop resource really, to help students to kind of really explore those ideas and understand themselves in relation to the careers that they may be interested in, and helps you as a tutor or mentor to kind of really get an idea and support them, you know, with what their next steps will be, and again, making sure that you're linking the course with what they're interested in going into is really important, and hopefully these resources will help you kind of with the start and the middle of helping them on their kind of pathway from the course onto careers. I hope you found that useful. There'll be more resources coming up in the future, so please do take a look. If you've got any questions, then please do contact us, and happy to discuss further. I hope everything goes well with induction, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Amy. Really helpful and really interesting stuff. So Amy just mentioned the lesson plan resource that she has developed. That will be sent out to you, as well as a recording of this session. And just to finish off now, I have a couple of things to flag up, which you already might be using, you might be aware of, but it's always good to refresh our memories. So firstly, you have the option to include custom URLs on your Career Coach portal site. So that's basically allowing you to link directly from your portal to something else, which could be your online learning platform or another section of your college website. Totally up to you. Similarly, we've quite recently introduced the option for you to white label your Career Coach portal site. So that basically means you can change the wording here to fit with your own college identity if you'd like to. You don't have to call it Career Coach. You can choose some alternative wording if you like. And then finally, just a reminder that we offer the option to reskin your Career Coach portal site to be branded up to 20 of your feeder schools. So that's for use in your engagements and sessions with each particular school. So it'll look like their corporate branding and their colorings to give that personalization for your Career Coach portal and the activities you run from that. And then one additional option you have off the back of that is to set up tracking of users. So users would need to set up a profile in the tool. That's then going to allow you to ask them where they are coming from. So which school are they attending, or which school have they recently left? Which is going to give you some really useful metrics in tracking your Career Coach portal activity. I hope that's been really useful for you. As always, please do reach out to us here at MZ at any time with your questions, either myself or any of the MZ team, and we'll get right back to you on you. We do have another Career Coach webinar coming up on November the 11th, where we'll be sharing ideas on how to use Career Coach with adult learners to help connect them from your courses to the labour market, which is something that's obviously going to be extremely important over the next year and beyond. So all that's left for me to do is to thank Amy Woolley for joining me today, and to thank you all for joining this MZ webinar.